Battle-Born Address for July 4th, 2016 by Robert Winkler Burke of Reno, Nevada. As a subject for the remarks today, the perpetuation of our political institutions is selected. You will note I borrow from the generous legacies and thoughts of Abraham Lincoln, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, friends of our founding, and the greatest of them all, the man who was first in peace, first in war, and first in the hearts of his countrymen, George Washington. 12 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We now wonder in 80 years what will be the state of our nation at the time marking our third centennial. God forbid, if there is a God, we are as confused as we are today. We find we are now a confused people living in a confused land. Debt to the score of $20 trillion? Or are we to include unfunded liabilities of 10 times that amount? Externally, involved in a so-called 100-year war with a tribal control religion, one that is dedicated to our submission or death. Internally, no longer a United States, but a community disorganized polyglot dedicated to a progressive so-called miasma of contradictory platitudes designed to drive the gods crazy. If ever a nation was spiritually, if not in the flesh, headed towards a greater conflict, yea, than even the Civil War, then we are indeed that woe-begone nation. Yet a spark of liberty still burns, and it is the intention of this speech to blow gently upon that spark, and if possible, add tinder until, lo, cordwood can be added, and it becomes a fire that warms the heart, not only of this nation, but all nations. Which problem, then, is the greater that we should turn our attention? Is it the tribal control religion threatening us with death and all things baleful? But compared to the might of the United States, when its wrath is ready to be mete out in full fury, no, this tribal control religion is a small thing compared to our larger ill. Is not our larger ill a thing that is spirit, soul, and body troubling at the most profound levels? It is a philosophy of life become normal, which never really, in hindsight, should have been allowed to be so. Would our larger ill be, as Abraham Lincoln warned, something inside us insidious? For he rightly said, all the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasure of earth, our own excepted, in their military chest, with a Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. When then is this danger which has sprung up among us? What destruction is it if we ourselves, be our finisher? Lincoln said, rightly he said, as a nation of free men, we must live through all time, or we die by suicide. Let us look more carefully then at Lincoln's warning for us. Amazingly, he warned of a thing he called towering genius, which would be a way of thinking used by people or a person of such mind who could literally enslave the free or vice versa with the overarching design to wield power for power's sake, in that such people of such mind, to them, might is always right and never the opposite thing. Can we find this towering genius, which may be some great veiled enslaving agency of our time? And would not this towering genius already have done its work without the enslaved fully understanding? And would this be done over the objections of Lincoln's advice to teach children to be A, generally intelligent, B, moral, and C, lovers of laws and the Constitution. Indeed, we are now on a trail of philosophy and of pedagogy, the manner of teaching. And what has changed since Lincoln's day to this day? We can say that from 1776 unto 1900, the children and collegians of the United States were taught by an exceptional system of philosophy or worldview best described 1776 tragic liberty. But then, since 1900, we could correctly observe that the education system has changed with nobody's real permission into a thing called progressivism. Let us then, with patience, inquire further. What then might the bedrock philosophy of progressivism be? It is based upon the strangely deceitful Hegel maxim, no proposition can be proved true. And since our founding fathers clearly alleged to a common sense philosophy, perhaps from Scottish origins, would they not have had a powerful different maxim? Indeed, we can find this maxim from James Madison: no man can be the judge in his own case. Compare now these two maxims. One lets a tyrant do what he pleases, as demonstrated by socialist tyrants last century, and murder 200 million citizens or opponents, and believe at the same time all is well because nothing can be proved true. The other maxim, the American founding maxim, says to beware of humankind because it is made with a certain unfixable design flaw of self-interest that must be checked in all leaders. This maxim restrains the tyrant in all of us. The other maxim encourages the tyrant in all of us to have no restraint, but rather to enjoy calming, superior self-justification for any great good or evil action by leaders. And just 3/4 of a score of years ago, we saw what this dominant political and civil and, I dare say, even religious philosophy wrought. It wrought the death of almost 3,000 souls, innocent souls, at the hands of the aforementioned religious death cult. And today we seem to be no nearer to solution, but further. But I ask you today, this day celebrating American independence, can we have faith in a solution? Because today I'm asking, begging, and if it was in the power of me to do so, commanding you to have faith. Did not the great generation, of whom few celebrated souls are still alive today among us, beat back simultaneous threats to the free world from Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan in the space of just 3.5 years? Indeed, they did. And we can do no less than likewise summon the courage to acquit ourselves as men and women at the task set before us. Again, I ask you to bear with me and now focus clearly on this troublesome task before us. It is a task of philosophy, and we have 3 choices. First, we can go backwards and join cults of fundamental religion, requiring us to be rigidly aligned and prepared for barbaric rules of civil life, and hope for the best under tribal control, abominable and loathsome as it is. Secondly, we can choose what has already been chosen and proven bad: progressive control philosophy based on the Hegel's wicked idea, no proposition can be proved true. If we continue to choose this which was chosen somehow already for us, we will be in an endless loop rediscovering for the next millennium that none of our leaders actually live that lie of Hegel, but they expect us to, because they are in charge and we are not, and they apply the jungle law that those who are strong and apply ruthless self-interest will be successful, and they will continue to force their jungle law of slavery on us. I ask you now, did our founding fathers and all who followed them do so in order to escape a tribal-controlled king, only later to have we, their progeny, decade by decade, 100 year by 100 year, to be ever more greatly enslaved to progressive control of sub-taught elites who have donned spurs and we saddles as they ride us into the next 1,000 years of confusion, slavery, and hopelessness? As Patrick Henry so eloquently once said, "Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." You might ask at this point, what course? I recommend for your consideration the only course an American should truly take, and that is the rock-solid philosophic foundation of 1776 tragic liberty. It is the common sense solution for this nation, and probably indeed for the world when things mature sufficiently overseas. But this is a very weighty decision. It would mean the complete defunding of progressive education in K-12, K through 12, university, law schools, journalism schools, and so forth. Good riddance to garbage, as is said of such. It would mean replacing the pedagogy with 1776 tragic liberty worldview education. It would mean understanding the original good design of American philosophy in education, realizing it was replaced surreptitiously with a bad, decline-making, and death-making design, progressivism. And therefore now we agree to expunge this bad thing and restore our nation's vitality, its life, liberty, and happiness, with the restoration of the exceptionally ameliorating 1776 tragic liberty world view. It would mean the vociferous people in the cart, always yelling at the people pulling the cart, under the point many pullers abandon their efforts and join the raucous crowd in the cart. It would mean the cart sitters need to get out of the cart and get a life, a liberty, and happiness. Meanwhile, our government shall continue charity to the truly needy, as can be afforded to do well. What I am proposing is a restored liberty wherein we all mutually pledge allegiance to self-restraint as a civil society. And we begin believing in ourselves to a level where we have, many of us, forgot. And if we do this, all will be well. But what about the ever-present terror threat? You could ask, isn't it real? Yes, it is, and that's the problem. Heretofore, we have not dealt with reality, nor the terror problem, as we should have. And we can blame our inability on that progressive Hegel proposition that no thing can be proved true. But now I ask you, on September 11, 2001, did not, along with so many people, the idea of moral relativism die? I submit to you that this horrid religious terrorism accomplished one good that day. It killed all Hegelian propositions that morals are relative and no thing can be proved true. In the song The Seeker by The Who, a man called The Seeker searches low and high for truth. Surprisingly, he says, I've got values, but I don't know how or why. Our founding fathers, believe it or not, grappled with the same question but came up with the true and best answer. We all have morals, and they tend to be the same, ameliorating, positive. To deconstruct further results in, as last century showed us, 200 million dead via Hegel's horrid deconstruction of logic unto no logic. Our nation was founded on common sense philosophy. No man should be unjustly aggressed upon his mind, his body, his ideas, his rights, or his property. Hegel says, yes, A tyrant can do whatever he wants, jungle law style, because power has perks. And after all, what does it matter? Madison says to this, in effect, no and hell no. If you take the side of, say, the late lament poem from the Moody Blues song, Nights in White Satin, and repeat the mantra, red is gray and yellow white, but we decide which is right and which is an illusion. This is taking the bad choice of nothing matters and who cares and so what. And we must realize this is just another form of Hegel progressive insanity to be appreciated but never lived. We must realize this thinking is profoundly wrong and the basis for so many mental shenanigans used by leaders to capture and kill their prey citizenry. We reject all Hegelian notions that nothing can be known, to let tyrants do what they do to us. How then do we go forward in the future? First, we rearm ourselves mentally and physically, as prescribed as our right in the Second Amendment. Progressivism has disarmed so many of us mentally and physically, especially by errant localities and states. But all this can be remedied. Can I guarantee then your safety as you go about? Only God, if there is a God, can do such a thing. I can only encourage you to take 100% responsibility for yourselves as you go about as free American men and women. Shall our legal system deny you this right via bully lawsuits and such? Not if the legal system is based on 1776 tragic liberty worldview, but sadly, yes, you will suffer at the hands of any legal system based on Hegel's jungle law maxim, nothing is true, and leaders can deny citizens any right, any property, any life. Much then needs to be undone, which has been done via progressivism, mental shenanigans. Since Abraham Lincoln won the Civil War, was shot, and most states subsequently took away this victory by taking away the right to carry arms in fear and prejudice against blacks and immigrants. But have you noticed concealed carry permits, or even constitutional carry, has returned in the majority of states, except for the most backward progressive ones, the most subeducated states, the states that stubbornly refuse to grow up, still dissembling gross immaturity of virtue. Be that as it may, is not the answer to most things in life to do the most mature thing. And that, my friends, is to be a whole American, to be more than equal to any challenges Americans now face or in the future. The things we must do now are too numerous to list. So busy have been the hydra heads of crazy bad progressivism. Central planning via central banksterism is entirely to be done away with. Let all, or God alone if there is a God, but let no select few set interest rates. Question the following things: fiat money, surreal limits on guns and their magazines and designs, non-reciprocal gun rights, lawmakers exempting themselves from law, environmental communism dedicated to destroying capitalism, corrupted science through corrupt government grants. Everywhere self-dealing in government must be stopped. This is the point of Western Enlightenment, and this point has always been the enemy of progressivism. Let us resolve then to resurrect an education system that abhors the proven noxious and proven to stupefy, that is the worldview of progressivism, and rather in its stead teach the 1776 tragic liberty worldview. This will be economic. It will produce precisely that which is so much in sore need: a people, A, generally intelligent, B, moral, and C, lovers of laws and the Constitution. And let me assure you that the founding wisdom of our fathers was not strictly religious. No, nothing like the strict religion of progressive anti-religion, but rather founding wisdom was keenly aware church and state need be separate, yet sharing many common threads with the overarching theme, one corrects the other in need of correction. You will find this same pattern embedded in the Constitution, separation of powers, yet threads linking all to all, with the overarching theme of entity correcting entity. To summarize, a necrotic tribal control worldview is nipping our heels like a bad dog. This dog, amazingly enough, is doing us the favor of showing our sad condition of fate because of a progressive, dumbing down education system. We have become generally unintelligent, immoral, and haters of the idea of non-plastic laws and constitution. We, with this regime, have no reason to mutually dedicate and lead ourselves to civic restraint. Thus, a death-mongering religious cult believes it can take down us because they see us as a suicidal people based on a philosophy meaning nothing but ruses and fakes and feigns designed to enslave people and frankly kill people, with the crazy idea it is intellectually beautiful Hunger Games capital operation for elites and empowered idiocracy idiots. Can we agree for a moment with our enemies and perhaps understand why they see in us just this side, and in seeing just this side call us the great Satan? Forgive me for hyperbole. Love conquers all. And truly, truly, only the best worldview, the 1776 tragic liberty worldview, has love for all, life for all, and liberty for all. Our enemies will not unconfuse ourselves. We must. We can. Those who have died fighting for freedom in Afghanistan died not in vain, nor those in Iraq, Kuwait, and every other place Americans have fought for freedom, regardless of mistakes that cannot be avoided. We have fought for freedom and not slavery. We are Americans. We go to the moon. And we will go to the stars. We will live and we will not die. And we will show the world how to be human, how to be humane, how to solve epic problems quickly and morally, and we will not lose but win and keep our sense of love, happiness, and affection for ourselves and our way. Still, I hear voices complain, weren't founding fathers slave owners, therefore should not everything they did be discounted and despised? Yes, some of them owned slaves, and many of them worked to unwind that situation. They did what they could, being fallible humans, living much as us in an imperfect time. And the remarkable achievement was to begin an exceptional experiment in self-government capable of being preserved and refined for distant times into the future. They worked not for a perfect utopia, as progressives pretend is possible. No, our founders worked for always a more perfect union of intelligent, moral, law-loving souls dedicated to liberty, self-restraint. So then, humbly, kindly, even reverently, we must always give honor unto whom honor is due. We must bring to mind George Washington's words, "The time is near at hand which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves." We therefore highly resolve that America was not founded in vain on July 4th, 1776, nor that America has lost sight of its proper good, historic, and eternal philosophy. Nor are we afraid to be that American, nor will we besmirch those who gave their lives for our opportunity to be Americans. But we shall honor our honored dead, nor will we be afraid to kill those who try to kill us, nor will we be afraid to love those who stop killing us, because so strong is our belief in who we are and what we do. Most assuredly, we resolve to disavow the progressive meme from Hegel that no proposition can be proved true. Nay, rather, we resolve with absolute certainty that Madison was true and correct and that no man can be the judge in his own case. Therefore, an American is skeptical of leaders who, in a sense, act as judges in their own case. And knowing this, Americans take all precautions against rogue leaders. Therefore, the American idea cannot be extinguished. Though progressivism has tried, progressivism has lost. Therefore, by our witness and testament, America shall rightly have victory against all enslaving foes and be friend to all of goodwill. Therefore, we pledge now and forevermore that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.